I lied on my mortgage application, or I had someone lie on my mortgage application for me, or they lied. I didn't know they lied on my mortgage application, and they got me the house, and I didn't even realize what I was getting into. That's the reality of the foreclosure situation right now. I must admit, I think I was completely blind to how much of the market did run that way.
Welcome to the Tom Storey Show with Steve Karrasch and Tom Storey, where we discuss everything real estate or whatever else is on our minds.
Welcome back to the Tom Storey Show, episode 183, if you can believe that, Steven. We've made it 183 episodes. What are we going to do for 200? Have we talked about this yet?
Is it really 183? I hope you quoted the right episode number.
I actually did some research and looked on our YouTube page to find out before today. We have quite a few actually fun but housekeeping items to get this episode started. I want to start actually with that November 16th date, Steven. So tell the people why that Sunday morning that would be a regular release date. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
I'm starting to come around. You're like, tell me why this? And I'm like, no prep.
So tell them why that date's important, especially if they're an audio listener.
Okay. So, because you're an audio listener. So this is November 16th episode. We will be doing it live on YouTube. I will be in Toronto with my boyfriend, Tom Storey, and we're going to be hanging out, and we're going to do a live episode like we did last year that did so well. The problem with that is it will come out later on audio, so you won't get it first thing in the morning on audio. But
I think the thing that was so fun about it last year was that because we were live, like half the show was just answering the questions that were coming in, and some of them were hilarious. Some were actually helpful. Some were just making us laugh the whole time. But November 16th, regular timing, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 a.m. on the West Coast. Make sure to jump on.
Doesn't cancel my flight the night before. They already pushed me back, so I'm getting in at like 10 p.m. the night before. So
we'll have our coffees ready.
There's no episode. We'll see what happens.
We'll have our coffees ready. Another thing we want to ask is as I've realized we're at episode 183 now, I don't think we've asked you guys to leave us a review for like 100 episodes. So if you do listen every week and you have some spare time today, really would appreciate if you went to Apple or Spotify and left us a review, especially if it's a 5-star review. And final housekeeping, I think today, actually two more things today.
There's way more. There's way more.
Okay, so the collab thing. I don't know if you guys noticed, but last week's episode with Dan Plowman, YouTube allowed us to do something different where the episode was still posted normally on our regular podcast channel. But then also you probably saw like below, it was actually posted as well as a collab with my main channel and Steve's main channel. And I guess my question is like, do you like it? Does it make any difference? Steve, do you have any thoughts on this new thing YouTube's let it? Did you notice? Yeah.
I don't know. I think, it's just to try to cross-pollinate. I was kind of looking into the back-end stats, and I was shocked at how many people watch this, but not our main channels.
Right.
Which I thought was kind of weird, but I thought people would find our main channels and then come here, but apparently that's starting to reverse. So I think we're going to do that. But more importantly than that, if on the collab thing, YouTube has reached out to me in a small group, which I'm sure is probably still 1,000 people or more. But they've reached out to me, and they're trying to get us to turn on channel memberships. And I'm torn up with this, so I want people to leave comments down below. Channel memberships, if you don't know, it's a pay thing, and then you get access to more stuff. So I don't know if I like that idea, Tom. But you know what? Maybe if we gave people for $1 or $2 an episode early access or something like that, or behind the scenes stuff, maybe people would like that. I don't know.
Or the raw file, unedited, just access to it 48 hours early or something, or 24 hours early.
Possibly, or just, access to the episode earlier. Who knows what it would look like. It would support the show. I don't know if it's weird to ask for cash that way in memberships, because that's what it is, right? YouTube's just trying to increase their revenue. But I kind of like the idea for like behind the scenes people that want more, but also, or if you want to support the show and get the show earlier, great. I just don't know if it's cheesy or not. So I think it's half cheesy and I think it's half great. I think there are some people that would love it and some people that won't. So leave your comments down below and we may act accordingly.
All right. Well, there you go. Housekeeping out of the way. Let's get into this week's topic. I want to start with the market. Shocking real estate podcast talking about the market. But, Toronto, I'm going to talk about Toronto. Steve's going to talk about Surrey and surrounding areas. And we want to give you a little bit of a behind the curtain look at what is actually going on in both of our markets. And Steve, I know you actually did your homework for this and prepared. So I'm actually going to start with you. And the point of this is we'll get into specifics on like what we're seeing ground level. But I think a lot of people just want to know like who is moving, who's buying, who's selling, and why are they doing it? So I gave Steve some homework and I said, Steve, take a look at your last 10 sales and tell me why those people did the things they did, to give you as the viewer a little bit behind the curtain, because I find there's a bit of a trend on, it's not just our show, but all these shows where we talk about these grand themes or these headlines, but the people talking about it are not actually involved in the market. The thing that me and Steve has that's a little bit different is like, we do this every day. This is not our, the podcast is kind of something we do on the side for fun. So Steve, why don't you get us started? Why are people moving in Surrey? And then I will bring up my list for Toronto, and then we'll go over more specifics in the market and what we are seeing right now. So let's get started.
Sure. So I redacted like private info, obviously, so you can't, tell who these people are, that sort of thing. But you asked me to look at my last 10 transactions. So they are actually split evenly, 5 listings, 5 buyers. That's the first thing that I noticed. Okay, so then I went through them. One sold a condo because they had already bought a pre-sale. They didn't buy the pre-sale with me.
Okay.
But they had already bought a pre-sale. They were moving to a different city. And that was multiple years ago. So now it was time to sell where they were currently living. And that happened to be a condo. It was a large condo. Took some time. Finally got it to, after a couple of reductions in it, and it sold. I had a buyer last week firm up on a foreclosure purchase of a condo.
Okay. So the whole court process and everything.
Oh yeah. I went through the whole thing. No bidders showed up at court. Screaming deal compared to other stuff I've seen out there. Like you're talking, what do they call it? 1-bedroom, junior 1-bedroom. The 1-bedrooms with the glass wall instead of the open door. For like $335 in city center. That's probably 500 square feet or so.
Okay.
Right, for $335 in a high rise. So,
parking?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Of course. Yeah, we don't do the no parking thing here. We have very rarely no parking thing here. But so that was, and it was like kind of a oddball situation. It was kind of like a extended family helping. There was like, one family member was going to be going to school, so they wanted to be close by, that sort of thing. Will probably be a rental in the future.
This was a first-time home buyer?
I believe technically, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, is family involved? Are they helping out? That sort of thing.
But his first purchase. Or or her first purchase. No private information. Yeah.
The next one was a first-time buyer couple that bought a 2-bedroom condo in the north end of the city. So they were just waiting for the right place. They were referred by past clients.
Were they coming from home or from rental?
From rental. Almost all of my folks right now are coming from rental. So they're month-to-month rental somewhere, and they're going, oh, okay, this kind of makes sense to move now.
Right.
Then we had a townhouse sale, of which then those people upsized to a detached house with a rental suite.
Okay.
So you went from like a strata, you guys call them condo townhouses, so it's strata townhouse here.
So that's the idea where you're being strategic, where you're trying to upsize in a downward trending or neutral market, going to something more expensive.
Yeah. And then you put in you have a rental in the basement. They'll get somewhere between $1,500 and $1,700 out of the rental.
Did they take a hit on
$300,000
on the list from what they paid for the first property for the townhouse?
No.
They bought it pre-2020?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Sold a long-time family kind of townhouse. They're retired and not buying again. So it's probably like a move-in with family, at least for the short term. But a retiree sold a 2-bedroom condo after living there for like 20 years. They did a bunch of updates in order to sell. And then they actually had previously purchased a detached home, and now it was time to sell after the fact.
Got it.
We had somebody just last week. So we sold them a condo, peak of the market, pretty close to the peak of the market, pandemic anyway. They're keeping the condo, and they have now since got engaged, getting married, and bought the detached house, of which they're going to move into together.
Why are they keeping the condo? Because they don't want to realize the loss?
Because they can. They're not
can
stressed
afford
at all.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're not stressed at all. So they can keep it, rent it out. Next one is, and these are my last two, buying a large condo. Single guy. I've known him forever. He's owned before, has rented, sold, rented, moved around, still single. And so he's just buying what I would call an awesome, very unique condo, because it's just time to purchase again. And then the last one is selling of what I would call a generational family home. Like, it's been in the family for, I want to say 50, 60, 70 years, something like that. And now it's going to be more of a development play. So it's just time to cash out. They're not going to have it inherit multiple times. And so that's it. So it's all people doing stuff. I wouldn't say...
It's like a lot of condos.
Lots of condos.
For you, that's kind of surprising. I thought you'd be more houses.
I don't do detached. I really, honestly, our detached market has changed so significantly.
But I feel like you have a ton of detached listings.
No, I never really do. No,
really?
I don't. Oh. Compared to what we used to do, no, I don't really have that anymore. I just don't really see it. I will say our foreclosures are increasing.
Yeah, we're going to get to that later in the show. I've got a whole section on that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, keep watching. No timestamp. Sorry. Keep going.
And we'll be right back. Okay,
you, Tom,
does anything there surprise you? Is there financial issues there? Is there mortgage renewals coming up that are forcing these moves?
Mm-mm.
No,
not a one. The one thing that I have seen, and it hasn't been here. So thankfully, October has been very good to us here on the team. Best month of the year for our personal business. Before this, and then since then, actually, we have had a lot of landlords that are sick of being landlords. And when the tenant leaves, but it's not within the last 10 here, which is actually kind of weird.
Interesting.
Right? Like it was definitely in the summer. And I think I'm talking to a lot of those people now, but this last gap of the last 10 transactions has not been those people, which is kind of interesting.
And how do you feel right now, like general market vibes that you're feeling right now? Like, it sounds like condos are kind of moving, or at least you're doing transactions in them. Detached is still kind of that stubborn sitting there with high inventory, like general market.
Yeah, the detached market, I think what has probably become more obvious to me is in the detached market in a lot of areas, I think honestly, if I had to look back on it now that I know how it's done and I've seen it been done from the CBC News report, I think there was likely more mortgage fraud than I knew was happening at all. And I think it was concentrated in certain areas, and I think those certain areas are now seeing very high levels of inventory. A lot of people are holding on to them just fine, but at the same time, the detached market seems to be taking the hardest hit. So it's like, we could say this a billion times over. So the townhouses aren't so bad. The 2-bed condos aren't so bad. Right. The 1-bed investors are getting smashed because investors are out. And then the detached properties, of which on Monday I put out a video of like a property that sold for $410K less than it did at the peak of the market. And I can't believe somebody paid 1.55 for that property at the peak of the market. Like, that was insanity. So now that it's resold for like 1 something, you're like, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Right.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, let me give you the Toronto version of this. I'm actually going to start with the market, because I think we're fairly similar. Like, the way I'm kind of looking at things right now is generously sized 2-bed condos under 800,000 are still like, they're selling. They're not selling fast. They're not going up in value, but they're moving. And actually, if I look at my active listings right now, like anything that I've had on the market over 30 days, I've sold out of pretty much everything I have that has a parking spot, like a 1+ den with parking, or 2 beds with parking, or the houses. Obviously, houses. Most of the houses that we have parking. I've had no issue. I've sold all those properties. The only things that I've unsuccessfully been able to sell this year are units without parking, units that are currently tenanted, or units that are under a certain square footage.
Hey agents, you know that a clean and crisp real estate website is a must for your business. To start your free site right now, go to realtyninja.com/Tom and you will pay absolutely nothing until your site is ready to launch. And then when you are ready to launch your brand new site, you will save 20% off your entire first year just by going to realtyninja.com/Tom. So what are you waiting for? Get a beautiful real estate website for your business right now at realtyninja.com/Tom.
So
tenants are a problem.
It's a massive issue to try to sell. And I get it as a landlord. You're like, yeah, but I don't want them to leave because I'm still getting the money in every month. So it makes it a little bit easier that even if they left, then I'd take a hit on it being vacant. I'm like, yeah, but the chance of selling are just so much lower. So generally what I think is that that middle part of the condo market, which the 2 beds actually represents more percentage of condo sales than anything else. That's surprising to some people, but if you actually look at the number, that's what it is across the city of Toronto. I think they're okay. I think they're moving. They're not moving fast. They're not going up in value, but they're not really decreasing that quickly. The smaller stuff, I still think it's gonna continue. It's not stopping. There's too much of it for sale, and there is so much what we would classify as investor inventory, kind of crappy floor plans that we would never suggest to our buyers to buy anyways, that's still on the market at prices just sitting there. And if that doesn't go away, that's going to clog up the rest of the inventory, and that section will do what it's going to do. Semi-detached homes are still the most in demand, and then your detached, obviously neighborhood specific, but generally it's okay. It's not fast. We're seeing no price growth at all. I still don't think that's going to happen for a while, but you're not seeing massive dips in price like we previously did. Okay, my last 10. We had a buyer buying a luxury condo coming back to Toronto after years of living somewhere else, basically coming here to retire. So there's that section of the market. That's obviously the section of the market that we like because they're a cash buyer. And they sold something that they've owned for a long time somewhere else, and they're coming back to the market. Next one, first-time home buyer that had been looking with us, honestly, probably for over 6 months. Like, not being super picky, but just it was overwhelming with how much to choose from. It's finally got to the point they're like, okay, this one makes sense. There's actually a really funny story to that one, but I don't.
Can I ask you something just related to that? How many homes do you think, because there's hundreds, if not thousands of condos available. Mm-hmm. How many homes do you think if a buyer looks at, that they get overwhelmed and shut down if they don't make the decision within the first few minutes?
That's a good question. What, 20, 25?
I think if you see more than 15 homes, you're not buying a property.
Over how many viewings? Like 3 times out, 15 homes?
It's the Tinder effect, man. It's
too many.
Like, oh, there's another option. Oh, there's another option. Yeah. Rather than being like, okay, I'm going to pick this one and just go with it and be happy. Yeah. People that overanalyze, they normally, so just so you know, like we track it on our team, like our team will on average show 8 properties and you'll buy one. So that's usually 2 tours, sometimes 3 tours, depending on how many you're seeing. So once you hit 4 tours and you've seen 4 per, your chances of buying drop dramatically.
I think you also got to mention that you have an hour, if not longer, conversation with them beforehand before you ever see any places.
Oh yeah, consultation is huge.
Massive mistake realtors make without doing that. Not just
hey,
for
you want to go see places? You want to go see places, Tom? There's 1,052 we can go see this weekend.
The eager realtor that just wants to get like, yeah, I'll show you places tomorrow. Like no, take a breath, for the sake of the client, sit down with them first and have that consultation and go over everything with them, because it will save you time, it will save your client time, and as you mentioned, they will probably be able to make decisions quicker because they are educated. We actually had people that just moved one area of Toronto over to the other, going from house to house, mostly because they wanted to get into arguably a more desirable area in a school district that a lot of their friends had moved to with kids recently. And that was a very calculated move that we've been talking about for a long time. And as we saw the prices kind of adjust, houses that were selling at 2.2 are now selling at 1.8. And they decided this is the time to make this move. So that's happened. We had a first-time home buyer, have been renting for over a decade, bought a condo in downtown Toronto. We had someone that had actually moved back to Toronto because of work and sold their house. I'm not going to say the exact market, but out of town, and because work, they want to come back. Another first-time home buyer, another first-time home buyer. We had an upsizer that had lived in their condo for 5 years that wanted to buy a house. We helped them buy the house, and we currently have the condo for sale. We had someone that was selling.
So they made the move first. So they bought first.
They were one of the few people that had no issues closing on the house first.
Wow, great.
Not something I would ever suggest if that's not the case. I had a call this morning with a client where like I was up last night. I woke up at 2 a.m. being like, oh my God, holy shit. What if the house doesn't sell and we can't close on this other one? Like, I know I had this conversation with them, but what if, and I had a conversation where they're like, no, we're good. Like, you can close on it. Like, it's okay. I'm like, I'm stressing so hard about this. I get so involved. I used to be good at not getting as involved. No, don't put words in my mouth. Caring's the wrong word. I've always cared a lot. That's why most of our business is word of mouth. It's just the getting yourself involved emotionally into every aspect of it. I was never like that. More recently, I have been, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because I have kids now. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Becoming a softie as I get older. We had a large condo seller that actually wanted to sell the condo to buy a house. But it wasn't a typical upsize. Like, she'd owned it for a while. She's not 35 years old, little bit of a different situation. Then we had our last two here. Both were investors that the tenant gave notice, and they're like, let's sell this thing. One was a 2-bedroom condo that is closing tomorrow. And then one that I actually just sold 2 days ago was a 1+ down in a highly desirable neighborhood, but just tons of competition. And we had to adjust price twice, but we just got sold and we're fairly happy with it. So hopefully that gives the viewers at least an idea of like, I'm finding first-time home buyers are still very active. Still, most of our business and the people that I didn't talk about any of our active listings or any of our active buyers. That's just stuff that's already done. The reasons why people are doing things now, still a ton is upsizers. We have so many people that want to sell their condo to go buy a house. And as we've talked about a million times on this show, okay, let's get the condo on the market. This is going to take some time. Let's get our closing date. Selling first and having to rent short term is a way better worst case scenario than buying first and not being able to line up the closing dates. So there you go. That's why people are doing things. Any other thoughts on that, Steve, or can we move on to topic number 2?
Number 2.
All right. With that down, let's move on. This is a big one. It's happening, Steve. Canada, our government is saving the housing market, and they've picked
number 3.
And they've picked their first location. So we talked about this grand $13 billion plan, 4,000 homes. By the way, the long-term goal is 45,000 homes nationwide, but that 13 billion will grow with that number as well. And we talked about the different areas that they've chosen, and the first area has been selected here in the city of Toronto, and they've chose Downsview Park. So I'll give you a few little interesting facts about Downsview Park. That's where, do you remember when SARS happened? You remember the SARS concert in Toronto? Like AC/DC, Rolling Stones, I think Justin Timberlake got like water balls whipped at him as he was performing. That happened in Downsview Park. It's also where they've just built the new, I don't know if they're calling it Rogers Stadium. It's all confusing now because everything is Rogers here.
Everything's Rogers.
The new like Coldplay played there, and when the big people come to town now, it's a new venue that was built in that area. I play hockey in that area. There's a ton going on in that area. Also, the game show that Mr. Beast did a few years ago, that's on Amazon, that like city he built, that was in Downsview Park. But 540. What's that?
He didn't do that. He did. That wasn't like South Carolina or wherever.
That was in Toronto. No, that was in Toronto. Yep.
Huh.
The first part of that show with that little city they built, that was at Downsview Park. Yep. Then they flew to them some island or something. 540 modular homes coming to Downsview Park with 40% below market pricing. Also a $700 million investment for sewer upgrades to support the future growth in the area. So there we go. That is the first location that they have picked, Downsview Park. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about that. Steve, I know you have thoughts about this. And actually, you know what? Even before I go to you, also, Carney had tweeted out something that you've actually brought up on the show a lot, is like the housing catalog is back. The government has, do you see it? They put out 50 standardized housing designs that builders can use to streamline approvals.
Did he cut and paste Ravi Kallen's tweet from a year ago directly, or did they come up with a new tweet?
I don't know. All I'm saying is they announced their 50 standardized housing designs. They've also chosen Downsview Park as, I don't know, as the guinea pig run as for
ground zero for Soviet Canadian housing. Enjoy.
Well, it's modular housing, and it's like
Lego Soviet housing. Fantastic.
What does this mean? How large are these going to be? Who's going to get access to them? The 40% below market pricing. Are these all rentals? Can you purchase any of them? I doubt that. But Steve, let's go to you for your thoughts on this. Is this a good step that they are not liking the plan is one thing, which we've openly talked about, but is it a good step to show that they've actually started moving forward to try to implement the plan?
700 million in sewer upgrades. I bet, I mean, if they're saying 700 million for sewer upgrades, it's for sure $1.2 billion worth of shit that they're going to be dealing with. So I don't know. I think it's all, if one gets built, I'll be shocked. When the first one opens, I'll be shocked. And then what does it look like when people live in it 20 years from then, should they do that? I don't know. This is going to be what, leasehold or just low? No, it's not going to be leasehold. It's just going to be rent off the government. Enjoy. You will own nothing. Maybe you'll be happy. Let's move on. I don't even want to talk about this. Get politics out of here. No, all right. I don't want to talk about it.
It's isn't just they're building homes.
Somebody's going to be like, you're saying misinformation. No, so they're not building nothing. They're making announcements. They're making $13 billion announcements. Let's not make announcements, and it's stupid. I hate it. I don't even want to talk about the federal government being in housing.
Okay. All right. Calm down,
like my wife.
You gotta go take a walk around. You need some fresh air. You all right?
But how much can we talk about these guys doing nothing and making more announcements?
Well, that's, we could fill a bunch of episodes with that if we really wanted to.
Wait, but Trudeau's been gone for a year, or just about a year. So we're $500,000 or 500,000 new home starts already by now, right? Because it was 500,000 per year.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time, waste of breath. Let's talk I'd rather talk about doom and gloom than this stuff.
We'll get to the power of sales and the foreclosures in a second here. This episode of the Tom Storey Show is brought to you by Carson Dunlop. Real estate agents, you spend months, if not years, earning your clients' trust. You don't want to lose it on inspection day. For over 45 years, top agents across Canada have relied on Carson Dunlop for home inspections that are clear, calm, and client first. Their inspections don't just find issues, they know how to explain them in a way that will protect your client and your credibility. If you haven't worked with Carson Dunlop yet, now is the time to find out why Canada's best trust Carson Dunlop for home inspections. You can learn more at carsondunlop.com. I will also tell you, in the Toronto real estate market, whenever I see a pre-home inspection by Carson Dunlop, I know my buyers can trust it. And Carson Dunlop is a company we've used so many times over the years for our buyers and sellers. CarsonDunlop.com. And now back to the podcast. But with that down, let's move on to a topic that got a lot of people worried very recently, Stephen. Because
that's more like it.
That's more on trend. And basically what it was is that OSFI put out these new rules, or at least made an announcement a few weeks ago. And I didn't see a lot of people covering this online, but people were freaking out. And I saw a lot of mortgage brokers and people in the investment space posting, being like, they have just crushed the dreams of any Canadians to want to build a real estate portfolio, to try to put themselves in a better position to set themselves up for retirement based on these new rules and regulations. And I was thinking, you know, I could sit here and try to explain this to you guys, but why don't we actually bring in someone that knows what they're talking about? So I reached out to Jake Murray, who is a friend of ours, a mortgage broker here in the city of Toronto. I said, Jake, just film a video and explain to me and Steve what people thought was happening, and then the truth. Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story, but the truth in terms of what is actually probably happening. So Jake, please take the floor.
Hey, Tom and Steve. Happy to clear up any questions around the new OFC regulations coming January 2026 around rental income. It basically boils down to two things. One, if half your income is coming from rental income, you're considered high risk. It doesn't mean it's banned. It doesn't mean it can't be used. It's just saying that you might be signing up for a higher interest rate or have to front more capital. You just, in the lender's eyes, you're seen as high risk. Number two being there's no more double counting. So in the past, for example, Ron and Linda bought a house in Markham, Ontario for $800,000, and they used the basement unit of that property to qualify for that property overall. They used that $2,000 a month. Let's say the basement unit would have made them as market rent, and they can no longer take that rental income, that $2,000 a month, and help use it to qualify for property two. If it's used once, you can't use it again. That's kind of the summary of what's been announced. And as you guys know, you guys are the experts, so things are constantly changing in this world. So I'm super happy to clear things up for you and hop on and chat whenever you guys feel the need.
All right. So there you go. Jake broke that down for us. But essentially, Steve, a lot of people were worried that when this initial announcement came out, that basically rental income would not count anymore. And people were kind of freaking out about it. And essentially what I'm hearing from Jake is it will still count, but they're tightening up a few of the rules surrounding it to making it a little bit more difficult to get approved versus what it was previously. Any thoughts on this?
I'm shocked it wasn't already that way. Okay, so let me think. So if I have a rental, mm-hmm. and I'm getting, like you say, $2,000 a month, regardless of the positive cash flow or not. I guess why mortgage brokers were being angry or not liking this change mm-hmm. is they were qualifying for that rental with that income.
Correct.
And then when the person wanted to go get another property, they'd be like, oh, how about this money I'm making over here?
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Isn't that like are you too young for Enron? Isn't that like the whole Enron thing? Like where you're like, wait a minute, well, look at all the money we're making. But you're like, wait a minute, your expenses are exactly the same amount as the money you're making. So you're not actually making anything at all. Right? Like, isn't that where we're at?
But not every landlord, I know more recently in the last 5 years, new landlords are probably cash flow negative on these pre-con things. There are many landlords cash flowing like $2,000 a month that have owned properties for a long time. I think it's more that situation, using that income to show, hey, this should prove that I have enough money because this is a source of income to qualify for buying another rental property. I think that's the idea. And my understanding too was that they would only count 50% of the rental income anyways.
Depends on the bank.
Okay. But that's how I always thought it was. And anyways. So there you go.
So here's the thing. So I'm trying to think, like, for instance, with my place, I would be interested to find out how this works. So I qualified for my place on my own income. And then I qualified for my rental property on my own income. I didn't use any rent. I was like, I could float this thing if I need to. Right. So
Not
does that
everyone
mean
can do that?
Correct. But does that mean then if I could float on my own income, my current mortgage and my rental property, is that using the income twice? You know what I mean? Like, say, for instance, my income is good enough to carry 5 properties with no renters. Does that count or not? Like, you know, do you have to subtract that and bring in new income? This is why I'm not a mortgage broker.
Well, that's why I wanted to get Jake to clear it up. And
so why do you think
sent in that clip?
Why do you think mortgage brokers were probably ticked off, though, or scared or alarmist about it? I think it's probably because they have to learn a new way to qualify, and there's going to be a whole lot of people who were qualifying one way over a certain amount of time, and now they don't qualify the same way, so then it's alarmist.
Here's where I'm going to put on my slight, at least half tinfoil hat. In this market condition, okay, where prices have dropped and interest rates have gone up, who do we think is the people buying up stuff when it's dropped to the bottom when everyone's negative? Do you think it's you know, mom and pop landlord scooping up 6 more units because the prices have dropped? Who do you think is buying up floors of condo buildings that can't sell right now? It's investment funds. It's the big boys. It's the people sitting on cash that can do it. And I look at this and, like, for a long time, because the government didn't get involved, the source of rental inventory mostly was Canadians buying investment properties and putting them up for lease.
Thankfully.
Yeah, but look at the direction we're going. And this is just another thing that takes it.
Yeah, but if you're going to fix that problem, if you think that was a problem, that people are double counting their income to qualify for places, therefore over leveraging themselves, then the time to fix it is now before you get another big run up.
Okay, but that I don't disagree with. What I'm trying to say is that we are moving into a direction that has scared off the rules and regulations, what the market conditions have done, everything involved have scared off all the people like you, like me, like people that listen to this show that have investment properties from buying another one versus, like, who's building rentals right now in your market? Purpose-built developers, right?
Yeah, I've actually got a phone call from somebody that worked at a developer, and that was a big point of contention for them because that developer has switched from condos to purpose-built rentals. And what that person that had the inside scoop said is, there's going to be so many purpose-built rentals coming on, I don't want to own my investment property anymore.
Yeah,
like, she just because she thought that the rents would come down.
Yeah, right.
Right.
But my point is more like, it's changing hands here pretty quietly behind the scenes on, in 15 years, who's going to own all the rental stock in Canada. It ain't going to be the mom and pop landlords. No. It's going to be the government renting you homes. It's going to be large corporations. You know, we've had on, right? We've had on people and had conversations about the financialization of housing. And I don't know. I guess it's inevitable.
But when the market got good, Tom, so I had a very unique, probably 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I had a very unique situation with a client who lived in a purpose-built rental that was built in like the early 2000s. And I think the building was 17 years old. So maybe it was even, 2008, something like that. I don't know what it was. But what happened is the building got sold to a new owner.
Sure.
That owner then stratified each lot and sold off the purpose-built rental. So now I understand that has to be a certain type of construction, right? Like purpose-built rentals may be built differently. They may not have laundry in every unit or whatever the difference might be, right? They might not have the same amenity space or whatever it is. But it is possible that maybe in the future they do get sold off. And they were sold off like individually. They were sold off to end users, right? My guy wanted out of there, so he was there, and they actually offered him a place. He'd been there for like 10 or 15 years. They offered him a place at what it was actually a good price, but he was worried about, well, wait a minute, how good of shape is this building in? Why are they selling it off? And then am I going to get hit with a massive assessment because the original owner didn't maintain this place properly for the past 17 years, which was
That's
might
interesting.
be legit as well.
I haven't heard too many versions of that story though.
This is the only one I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It's the only one I've ever dealt with.
Huh. Okay. Well, I think we'll wrap it up on there, and let's move on to the next subject because, I mean, this is a big one. Something that I've dealt with a few times this year, and I just did a really in-depth video on it. If anyone wants to check it out on my main channel after this, power of sale numbers are obviously significantly higher than they are in the city of Toronto than we were previously used to. Now, for this conversation here, I will be using the term power of sale. Steve will be using the term foreclosure because Ontario and BC does things slightly differently. And basically what I did in this video and what I want to talk about in today's show is what I'm actually seeing and where these things are located. So what I did is I did two searches. First, I did a search where in the broker remarks or the client remarks on the listings, I just put in the word power of sale and it gave me like, you know, what was currently on the market. It was like 55 on the market in the city of Toronto. What you're seeing in some of the more like scary headlines on like 3% of new listings are power of sales. Just like Steve mentioned, that's not the city of Toronto. That is all the different areas that the Toronto Real Estate Board collects the data from. Many of them are in one specific pocket, which I'll let you decide where that is or isn't. But what I learned from the data that I did, which was actually like, not just like saying, oh my God, it's bad out there. It's like, no, let's look at the numbers together. I have access to this. Let's look at it. What we learned is that there's about just under 100 for sale in the city of Toronto right now, and about 100 that have sold so far this year.
Sorry, that's the city of Toronto.
The city of Toronto with a population of over 3 million people.
Not including other surrounding areas where they may be more highly concentrated.
Well, I run a real estate practice and YouTube channel
In
that
Toronto.
I've only ever spoken about the city of Toronto for 10 years. So I'm not about to start doing videos on Mississauga and Brampton and right. So I focus on the city of Toronto. Yeah. If you pull outside there, certainly the numbers would look different. But for the city of Toronto, which is the area I sell in, and that's why I wanted to do, because that's my problem, is that people see these headlines saying Toronto power of sales. I'm like, no, not Toronto. Surrounding areas of Toronto are a lot different than the city of Toronto. And there was two ways I did. So the first way I talked about was I looked it up based on just, you know, the word power of sale. And then the second way I looked it up is I went to the seller's name. And this is where I just did it based on the seller's name being any of the big banks. So, and I put in different ways. I put RBC.
Oh, you can't search?
Search what?
You don't have seller's interest?
No.
Oh, okay. So we have a section on our MLS called seller's interest, and there it says the right term, which is court-ordered sale. Now, court-ordered sale is not always a foreclosure. It could be a divorce where one of the person, you know, isn't cooperating or whatever. But generally speaking, that's where you find your foreclosures. So I did something similar on my channel, right? Because I wanted to be like, because we are getting more.
Yeah, I know.
So we went from when I got in the business up until about 2014, we would do 3 on average, I'd say 2 to 4, which is 3 on average, per year, where you have a foreclosure of some sort. Then when 2015 hit, they stopped completely. The only foreclosures we had in that time were either estates where there was nobody to take care of the estate after the person passed away.
Sure.
So like probate was hard, all that sort of stuff. And then the next one was stratas foreclosing. We actually had a fair bit of strata foreclosures, which is like you haven't paid the levy or whatever, so we're selling your place. But now we're starting to see, I think I'm on my 4th one this year so far.
Representing the bank.
Representing, the bank. So we are seeing them go up. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. So I did something similar on my channel to kind of go over, okay, well, what's really going on? Now, the only place I could search for seller's interest was divided by attached or detached property. So I just did the detached because I wanted to see what's going on. There's like 104 of them. Out of 4,000 some odd active listings, there's 104 of them. This year to date, within the entire Fraser Valley, so this is the entire Fraser Valley, not just the city of Surrey, there's like 40 something sales, 46 sales. And the purpose of my video was to point out that foreclosures are not a deal.
That's what I really wanted to bring up on this, is like, not so much, yes, the numbers are higher because it went from nothing to a bit, but should you buy one? Because you just started this episode. But Steve, let's just backtrack here. Let's run the tape, people.
Yes.
Steve started this show saying he got a great deal for a buyer buying a foreclosure. So
We did.
So should we not consider them?
Most people definitely should not consider them. I will tell you, I personally would never consider one if there was an occupant still inside.
Well, yes.
If the property's vacated and locked up and secured by a property management company through the bank or the foreclosing party, then I would consider them, depending. But occupied, I had a horror story this year, and there is a special place in hell for the old owner of that property. Like, just terrible people. But when I broke down the numbers, the average foreclosure sold for 100.4% of asking price.
More than asking price. That's
More than
weird.
asking.
Is
28.
Wait, can I ask a question before you go forward?
Interrupt me.
Okay, because our systems work.
TK can interrupt me, no problem.
Our systems work completely different. That percentage, let's say a power of sale sells and then it goes to that court thing that you guys have, which is completely different than ours, and people go and bid on it in court. Yeah. Does the final sale price show up from what happened in court, or is it the initial? Okay. All right. Just wanted to clarify. Okay.
Yeah, because that's what happens most of the time, right? If it is a deal, then 15 other people show up and they all bid it up. So, of those, so it was 46 sales, 28 of them sold under asking.
Okay.
5 of them sold at asking. Do the math. 18 of them went over asking. So the deal is definitely, there is a deal from the peak of the market. There is not a deal from the asking price currently.
But you could argue that they were priced better anyways. Because
you could argue that they were priced lower, but generally they were also like average time on market for foreclosures like 95 days or something. So they've been exposed at higher prices, and most banks will reduce price every 30 days.
For home insurance of any type, I use Square One. Go to squareone.ca/the Tom Storey Show to buy your tenant, landlord, or homeowner insurance policy and save $20. That's squareone.ca/the Tom Storey Show and save $20.
So they've been exposed to higher prices. They didn't get those. And then when you do the comparable side by side to the resale that sold with no or very little risk compared to the full risk foreclosure, like maybe you save 1%.
Sure.
Maybe you save 2%. Most often you don't. Most often you go to court, get caught up in the open bidding process that's there, and then,
which we don't have here.
Yeah. So I was, it was eye-opening to see that there were 46 foreclosure sales this year, and that's it. So of detached, let me say that. I should, if the video does well enough, maybe I will go ahead and do the same thing for condos. But I warn most people to stay away from them, and there's still not a massive amount of the marketplace.
What I thought was interesting when I ran ours for what had sold and what was currently on the market for City of Toronto is like, it was kind of like surrounding the city. So like you had some condos downtown, which kind of makes sense with everything that has gone on. As you went east, you saw a few more things kind of going on in Scarborough, north part of the city, like Yonge and Sheppard area, quite a few actually. And then kind of scattered on the west side, the central east, west, north neighborhoods of the city, which are the most in-demand neighborhoods people want to live in anyways, basically had none. There was like 2. None in the beaches, none in Leslieville. There was like 1 in like a prime midtown area, hardly anything in High Park, hardly anything in Junction and Roncy. It was kind of like a scattered around the city with not many happening in the middle. But I think more than anything, like you take on the risk of, if it got to that point, do you want to buy a property that got to that point? That's up to you as a buyer. Are you willing to take on the risk of buying it as is? Because at least in our market, that's how the banks sell it. This is, you do your due diligence. Something doesn't work, like, too bad. That's on you.
Also, the day you get it, if they thrash the house the night before, it's also...
Is there anything... I guess at that point, they wouldn't have access to the property, but...
No, they got full access, man. They live there right to possession. That's why I'm saying you can't do that. You can't buy those occupied ones.
Yeah, I would be concerned if like I bought something like this and then like the person that used to live there like came back and like, I don't know, spray painted my car or like, I don't know.
Worse, they do it before they move out, right? They spray paint the inside of the house and there's absolutely zero you can do about it.
Because you bought it.
As is, where is.
Yeah.
And that's that, right? So that's why I really warn people to stay away from them. I will say, of the foreclosures that I am seeing now, they are almost all peak buys selling for better part of 20% less. So there's no equity. So that's why they're being foreclosed on. There's no more equity left in them.
Yeah.
And they were all crazy buys. And like, it's like the same game each time. It's currently listed with a cousin or a buddy or a friend.
Yeah.
It's not just one mortgage on it either. Like they may be bought with 20% down, then there's a second and there's a third and there's a CPL on it. CPL means certificate of pending litigation. They're being sued for this or that. Right? Like, it's business dealings going south, plus they never should have been bored. Like, I've never seen seconds or third mortgages ever in my business until this year's foreclosures.
Interesting.
And the third is always a private person.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, it would probably have to be, would it not?
Yeah, but it's not even like one of those, those companies with the jingle on CTV News and they're, those people. That's not one of those. It's like a private person who is obviously completely uninformed about what a third mortgage means.
You know what? If you take a step back, though, and you just think of like what just happened with interest rates, with prices, the fact that we've seen a significant decrease in average sale price from the peak of the market, it is shocking there is not more of these. And I think it also goes back to the bank lending rules and how we are dealing with, and I think this could be seen as a good thing or a bad thing, but allowing people to, like the bank could theoretically, like if prices went down so much, they could force people into selling their property if they're underwater. They're not doing that. It's only missed payments that gets to power of sale, at least in our market right now. And then the extending of amortization and all the other tools, mortgage insurance. When we had Kiki on, like she talks about how they'll work with people to try to make sure that they can keep their property, which again is like a good thing. I'm shocked there's not more than there is on the market, based on what we just went through.
When you get these foreclosures, though, I'll get the letters from the lawyers, and it'll be like, "This is the owner. We don't know if they live there. We don't have contact information. They have been completely unresponsive to any of our letters, registered mails, anything that's been served to them." Like, it's not just, "Oh crap, I got behind on my payment." It's never, "Oh crap, I got behind on my payments." Right now, I think it's, I lied on my mortgage application, or I had someone lie on my mortgage application for me. Or they lied. I didn't know they lied on my mortgage application, and they got me the house, and I didn't even realize what I was getting into.
Right.
That's the reality of the foreclosure situation right now. And because I don't run that business, I must admit, I think I was completely blind to how much of the market did run that way. Like, I think there's a portion of the market where what likely happened is you had an uneducated buyer come in and go, and probably, unfortunately, most of them new to Canada. They come in, they go, "I want to buy a house." They meet some people who say, "I can help you buy a house." And they go, "Okay." And then I think personally, it was likely one or two or three people within either a bank or a mortgage broker, whoever, where they likely doctored the documents without the client even knowing, just to push it through. And then the client goes, I guess I bought a house. And then the payment comes through and they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Now I got to have side gigs. Now I got to move in my cousins. Now I got to take foreign students to be renters in my basement. Like, I think that's probably the realistic side of it. So what's the term? One bad apple spoils the bunch. Like, that's probably the reality of it. There's probably very few people making it happen for some unsuspecting people.
I think these numbers will probably grow, though. I mean, I was kind of thinking, like, remember all the other like big events that were talked about, like, just, you know, like everyone in every YouTube comment is always like, yes, but just wait. It's always like, but just wait longer. Mortgage deferral cliff was the first one. What was it called? The trigger rate. There's another one I'm forgetting about. The renewal cliff. And now there's the power of sales. And it's like, okay, is this just the next big talking point that gets us lots of views online and everyone makes a freaking video on? Or is it actually gonna play a real role in our market? And I guess, you know, we'll have to wait and see.
It's playing a real role. And yeah, those places sold for 1.5 and now they're selling for 1.1, but they're listed for 1.1.
Yeah.
Right. That's the reality of what the market is doing. It's just not what people think it is.
I wanted to take two sides to this. Is like, what's going on with them? Is it as big of an issue as people say, which I think clearly we've told you it's not? Could it continue to grow? Yeah, I do think it could continue. Let me try that again. Continue to grow. But then it's really like buyers go, okay, well, like, send me a list of power of sales or send me a list of foreclosures. If I can get a deal on
buy
one.
those things. No, you don't.
Well,
I had to take you through a tour of that house, man. Like, you're not gonna buy that house. Like,
all right, let's move on.
You walk into those things thinking like, oh, do you think, well, you know, she's just having a tough time making her payments, and you walk in there and she's having a tough time making her payments, but she cleans every Sunday for 8 hours. Those two things don't go together. You're not buying one of those.
All right. Well, let us know in the comments what you guys think of power of sales. Would you buy one? And are you seeing more? I guess you wouldn't really know if they're power of sales, but based on what you're seeing in your markets from the videos that you're watching, for what other people are telling you, let us know in the comments below. Wow, we talked a long time on that one. This is good. We're going to save a bunch of stuff for our next episode, but I do want to wrap it up with just a quick me thing. So I'm struggling with this because I am starting to see homes that I wanted to buy 3 years ago in my neighborhood sell at prices that I'm like, oh, I could afford that now. What I want, or pretty close to what I want, I could now afford, and the prices have changed a lot. Now, that means that my property has changed too. So
it doesn't. You're the only one that's staying high.
But you know what? Real estate has been so good to me. And with my primary residence has put so much money in my pocket over the years that, like, I realize I'm not some savvy genius investor. I rode a really good wave in the market. I'm aware of that. I get it. But I got on the ride. I grabbed the ticket. So now it's like, okay, if I sold my house today, after fees and whatever, you know, I'd probably lose 150 to 200 grand on what I paid for it. Yeah, that sucks, right? I've saved some money and I could go now buy the house that I probably wanted a few years ago, but couldn't have afforded, or at least I could have afforded it, but I wouldn't have liked the situation it would have put me in. And I've been, as you're aware, I've aggressively paid down my mortgage, and I have some savings where I could almost kind of keep my current mortgage and not have to add to it and just jump to the next house and keep my payment the same and just use my savings to make the jump. But then I have to get over something we've talked about on the show, you know, a million times, is the loss on my house, which I really have no problem with. I really don't care because I can get to what I actually want. And what am I going to do? Sit here and wait till the market gets better? And
so
then
is it actual loss or is it perceived loss?
No, it's like an actual, like, I know what the numbers are.
From what you paid, it's down, not just from the peak is down.
Yeah, but I didn't buy in the peak, but I still bought in 2022.
Okay.
I bought later in the year, but yeah, prices are, without a question of a doubt, they are down. And my home will sell, no issue with that. But I'm realistic, and I'm maybe being even more conservative than I need to be on what it could sell for. And I've run all the numbers, and I can do it. And I'm just like trying to figure it out.
How much less would your old place sell for?
It's probably 100 less. The old one, yeah, probably 100 less. Yeah, that's a good point.
As a realtor, I'm realtoring you right now.
Yeah, I want to do it. It's more like my my direct family being like, no, this house is fine. I'm like, it's fine for now, but I'm gonna want to move in the next 3 years anyways. Why not just get it done right now? The my house being down, I don't actually really care about. It's okay. It's like, can I get into the 10, 15 year house now before things? Why would I wait for things to pick up in the market to do it?
I wouldn't wait for things to pick up. Just knowing your situation, I might wait to find out if that's going to be enough space.
The next one.
Oh,
because you want me
like
to
how much bigger is the next place now? So let's say, for instance, you're 3 beds and you got a basement. You got that extra room downstairs, rec room. You got everything you need, but it's just not big.
Yes.
It doesn't have, you don't have garage or anything like that because you're one of those little old timies Toronto houses. Mm-hmm. So if that's the case, in 3 years from now, would you buy the same level of house that you would move to now, or would you go even bigger 3 years from now?
It's a good question. I don't know. I mean, the kids would be older, so that would factor into it. I don't know. I'm more leaning towards, like, there's a few in my neighborhood right now that are well within the budget I would go to, that are bigger lots but not as updated, that I could get the lot size that I think you're suggesting, which makes sense, bigger, and then slowly do things. Like, they're livable, right? They're just not renovated. And I could slowly do those rent. I think that's probably a better idea than buying something done that's not as big as those houses for the same price right now.
Would it be like a 9 or 10 out of 10, or is it like a 6?
Sure. You mean like in terms of livability right now?
Features, size of the house, all of that sort of stuff. Because the one thing I find crazy about Toronto houses is, like, you guys have been doing for
a big Toronto house is not a big house to you anyways. So.
Yeah. But to like a 100-year-old Toronto house is like the size of like a new Surrey house, right? Like, we've shrunk down, right, to fit more density in. The problem that Toronto had 100 years ago. So, like, would you go, for instance, is the lot double wide, therefore the house is a lot wider?
Yes. And
you could end up with all sorts of different things, like maybe a driveway down the side to a shop in the back or something, or garage in the back or whatever, right? Like, it's that type of a move. And then is that then going to be, you're what, 34? So is that going to take you through to 50?
I think it would. I'm trying to, like, I don't want to share too much personal stuff, but what's that?
I think you get bored with places.
I do get bored with places, but I'll tell you something too. I've learned a few things from buying this house and knowing what I value and what I don't value as much about houses. There's nothing wrong with my current situation and the size of our house. And I'm not sitting here saying, oh, I don't like my house. Like, I am very blessed to be in this situation that I have a house in a great neighborhood. And I'm very, like, I don't take that for granted. But there's just some things in my house where we spend the most amount of time in our house, and things I'm like, okay, if I could do this again, I would have valued other things differently. Those are the things that you can control in terms of the layout. But on top of that, I just think eventually we're going to need more space. When the
Are
kids
those
get
two
older.
things, main floor living area and covered parking?
I don't care about the covered parking. That's nice. It's not that I don't care. I like it. I'm just not, it's not like a must have in my neighborhood. It's the main floor living area where we spend most of our time. I would like to have it a lot bigger than we have right now. Just
Yeah.
the TV setup, the whole it's fine. It's totally good, but eventually I'd like for it
You're
to,
also in the middle of Rugrats though, like that age, right? So as soon as the kids are downstairs by themselves, that will actually slightly change a little bit.
yeah, that's true.
Because then they'll have like, the rec room downstairs and they go do their thing and watch TV or whatever.
Yeah.
It's many years away from that for you either way, right? Like your kids don't really go away until they're, older. So it probably feels a lot tighter right now than it will in a few years. But then in a few years, you're definitely going to want to move on.
Well, that's
so
it.
I'm just worried that you would upgrade to not a big enough
That's a good
house
point.
for 4 years from now.
Yeah, I gotta look at all the numbers and figure it out. But this is something that I want to do in the next 6 months, and I'm seriously considering. And I'm watching it, right? Because we're helping our clients buy in our neighborhood right now, and I'm like, damn, I like this one. Damn,
I know, man. I looked at 3 houses all with pools the other day because I want a freaking pool because I want to put a sauna next to the pool.
No.
But I was like, man, these are looking like good deals. Some of them are just looking like smoke show deals. And now I'm like, even some of those smoke show deals are like, I think that's overpriced now, which means it's a bigger deal, right? And we
the
just continue to rent
finances
it,
play a big part in it, but I just think I'm going to do it. So I think this is more of a therapy session to end off the show. Is like I'm not actually asking for advice as much as like I've kind of.
I'm just trying to upsell you to the next bigger house.
Yeah. Extra bedroom when Steve comes to visit.
100%. Well, I'm putting in an extra bedroom right now because 4 bedrooms upstairs sells for more than 3 bedrooms upstairs.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm actually putting in a bedroom contractor starting within the next month and a half here.
All right. Well, there you go. We covered a lot today, Steve. We talked about what's going on in our markets, why people are moving, Carney's new plan that you love so much. We talked about these potential new mortgage rules, power of sales, foreclosures, and is Tom going to move? Let us know. Should I move? In the comments below. Wrap it up, Steve.
Let us know if you think channel memberships would be something we should try or not. Actually, let us know if you would appreciate them, because all of the people at this point who wouldn't appreciate them would be like, you guys are just looking for more money, just making some bull crap comment down below. So if you think you'd like to not only support us, but maybe get the episodes earlier, which is likely the majority of what we would do. I don't know if we would do much bonus content. We might do some bonus content, but if you wanted to get them earlier for $1 or $2 a week, let me know. Leave a comment down.
Well, there you go. Thank you guys for being here. Honestly, we very much do appreciate that. 10,000 people normally per week at least come and watch us ramble about what's going on with real estate. We hope you enjoy it. We hope you enjoy the conversation. Hope you feel like you're part of the conversation, and we will see you next week. Bye.